let's get started. Hello and welcome to Slice of Piefer. I am Dr. Piefer. I'm here with Nick Agharkar and with Taylar, my emotional support PA. Mm-hmm. We are excited to have you, Nick. Thank you for being here. Crazy that you're talking with orthopedic surgical PA. Taylor's been doing this for now 14 years?
13
years. And you have your own injuries. This is nuts.
That's absolutely right. I am in dual splints after tearing both tricep tendons and electing to go both at the same time. So why not? Because you know what, golf season's around the corner and I'm not going to miss it. So we're going to make this recovery as quick as possible.
When did you have your surgery?
Thursday. So this is 6 days.
You're 6 days in. So
6 days in.
On the podcast and working.
I was working the next day. So here's the worst part, right? I get the worst slot in the OR. I got the 4:30 slot, right? So they didn't give me the nerve block until 5 o'clock. And I thought it was a 12-hour nerve block. It was a 24-hour nerve block. And I had a full day of work the next day. So I went into the hospital at around 3 o'clock, right? I was working in the waiting room until, they told me I got to go, right? So now 4:30, going to the OR. 5 o'clock surgery. I'm home by like 9 o'clock. Woke up, full day, starting at 9 a.m. next day. So, and I couldn't even feel my hands. So my wife is like logging onto the Zoom for me. She's typing documents up. I'm like, I gotta. It's the season. You can't take a break right now.
Right, no. Right. That is insane, man.
Yeah.
And
it's a little nothing.
That is so crazy.
How many times have you seen bilateral triceps?
I mean, very rare, less than 2, probably.
Right.
You would make 2, I would guess, that I've seen.
It's a rare injury to begin with. So this is a freak accident, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And you were skiing double black diamonds off the cliff into the.
Absolutely. I was deep in the backcountry, snowshoes. It was absolutely high risk. Definitely not on the bunny hill, learning to ski with my children.
Out of the woodworks.
Right. That is nuts. Well, so how long do you have to use these? Do you have your splints just for a couple weeks and then they're going to put you into some braces and let you start moving a little bit?
Yeah, Monday I can come out of these and go into a brace. And don't tell my surgeon, I definitely plan a bit of noncompliance here for hygiene and eating. But at least I'll be able to be somewhat self-sufficient. I'm still going to keep it protected, but I think I'm going to get a little bit of freedom after not being able to do anything for 10 days.
Well, I will tell you, man, you look fabulous given what you're describing. I mean, it is insane to see you doing this well, which is very cool. I mean, that's great. Good for you. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, to be honest, I credit the mindset, right? I mean, you got to roll with the punches. I could let this get me down and I could let, just sort of curl up in the ball and say, you know what, this is my lot in life, boo-hoo, but life goes on, right? The world keeps spinning. And so you got to look at the positives. I'm very, very blessed and grateful to have a wife that's willing to do all of this for me. She's bathing me. She's feeding me. She's putting my contacts in. So, and I have wonderful children. They're willing to help out. They know dad's injured. It's kind of hilarious because I am rather injury prone. I go to the hospital for special surgery here in New York. And I told them I think that I need a frequent flyer card at this point. I had my hip replaced last year. I've done both my knees there. So when I got injured after skiing, my son, who's 7 years old, came up to me and was like, "How'd you do, Dad?" And I was like, "Oh, I hurt myself." And he goes, "Again?" So it's pretty par for the course with me. I am somewhat injury prone, but
you could at least get a free frozen yogurt or something. You get the punch card, the 10th one, at least maybe you get a free soda or something.
Right. I mean, I'm not asking to give away the scopes, right? I mean, we know theirs are expensive, but.
Right.
Yeah, and this time of year, especially for you, oh my gosh. I mean, my mother owns a tax and bookkeeping business. And so this is the time of year I can't ask for any favors, right? It's like now, and then again, it'll circle back around September through October 15th where she's out of commish and I can't imagine being
yeah. But I mean, that's also again, I'm very grateful and blessed to have a great team, right? I have CPAs on my staff. I have a team in India that I keep going, and everyone is humming and cooking. And so you build those systems and processes within the business, and you can, blow out your triceps and be okay during tax season.
Don't go getting any ideas.
No. so for us, spring break was last week, and I was skiing in Colorado with my family. For us, it was great. Only number one, the snow is way better in Colorado than it is in Houston because we've got nothing here. But the snow has been so bad this year in all of the Rockies that there was no temptation to ski anything crazy. We were just skiing greens and blues and having fun and going and having nice dinners and hanging out. And my whole family was there, so we had a really, really nice time. But yeah, it was. We had a time when my wife and I we were like, we're going to ski this blue. We went down to finish the blue, and we had to take our skis off, walk in the mud for about 100 yards, and then put our skis back on, and then ski the rest of the run. I was like, how do they even have this open if there's dirt and mud at the bottom?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we got all the snow on the East Coast. I spent far too many times this winter digging out instead of doing work.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
You're having to shovel snow too, huh? But not.
Oh yeah.
This.
No, not like this. No. Now, luckily, it's all gone. But we got some pretty significant snowstorms this winter here outside the New York City area. That just we don't usually get, right? You don't usually see 2 feet of snow in one night, but that happened.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the kind of snow they get in Utah and at Mammoth in California, and just like where you see snow up to the rooftops almost. People with 5 feet of snow piled up on the side of the roads because the trucks have moved everything off to the sides.
That's where I grew up. I grew up outside of Syracuse, where the snow drifts would pile up to your garage, and then as an enterprising young 10-year-old, we would climb up there and sled down it. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, you make your own ski slopes up there.
From the roof, off into the driveway, out into the street, and protect your triceps. That's the key.
I mean, no, listen, when you're 10 years old, who cares? Devil may care. I'm not going to die, right?
Very, very.
Yeah, I was planning a trip this is a long time ago, my first trip to New York City, and my friend who was living there, he was going to Cornell at the time, and he was like, oh, you definitely going to come in the winter. I was like, oh, but that sounds terrible because of snow and stuff like that. He goes, yeah, but the snow makes actually everything really nice, and the trash doesn't smell as bad in the winter.
Really?
And I was like, what? And he was like, you'll understand when you get up here.
That is true. That is true. The trash smell in the summertime is a particular New York City experience.
Correct. So I've only ever been the times I go to New York, I always plan and go in the winter for that purpose. Yeah.
We visited, but I don't really remember that. I don't remember the trash issue, but we had such a fun time. We were just there for a couple of days, but we had a blast. We toured, got to go see all the fun stuff. We had a really, really good time. Mm-hmm. It's a cool city.
Yeah, for
sure. Well, we've now caught up on orthopedic surgery. That is wild and crazy. As I was telling you, I've been on call the last 2 days, so I just replaced a hip and put a titanium rod in somebody's tibia, and then get to come over here and live the cool life of being on the podcast with Taylor. She's been in clinic all day, so which is her favorite.
My favorite.
But all good. But we so here on Slice of Piefer, we just basically are hanging out, learning from you a little bit about what you do, about what you're certainly having been at Aspire and seen some of the tax architect stuff. I know that you have insights from the legal tax side that is probably pretty cool for us to know. We don't have to go into a ton of that, but you're welcome to, because I know literally nothing about it. So.
Well, what? It's interesting, Jason, that I have been a tax attorney. I'm a tax attorney. I've been an attorney for 20 years now, and never have I ever heard of a particular tax strategy as almost a product, right? So I actually, a client of mine opened my eyes to the world of tax architects on social media, and these people talking about a specific strategy, or here's this account and here's what you should do. And my response is, how can you know that without talking to me? I feel like a lot of this stuff is so very personal, right? Especially our tax liability. If you think about it, that is literally tied directly to your income. So if you're going to share kind of what your tax liability is, really you're sharing where you are financially, and that's a vulnerable position to be in. So to say that here's this strategy, it'll work, without any context or without any sort of care, I think is dangerous. And I think it also speaks to the level of knowledge of those practitioners, because in my world of tax attorneys, we really don't speak in strategy. We talk in case law and in code sections, right? And in understanding how these things fit together. Because it's not possible that you can have one strategy that's going to make it work, right? I have fun with clients sometimes that come to me and say, oh, but I hear this is what the billionaires do. And I look at them and I'm like, you're a billionaire? Holy cow. That's all. I had no idea. Wow. So, I mean, again, it's really just both, though. It's a joke, but the point is why are you doing those things, right? These are the things that the uber wealthy do. Why do you think it's going to work for you? Are you truly uber wealthy? If you are, then yes, let's see if some of these will work. But otherwise, let's actually talk about your goals and what you want to try to achieve. Rather than telling you about any specific strategy, I want to know where you want to go. And then let me develop how that works, right? What's the roadmap and how do we get there? And ultimately, one of the key characteristics of my firm is really we follow along. So, a lot of tax professionals, and this is the sort of the complaint I get from a lot of my clients is, I don't even hear from my guy until November. And then I'm scrambling around because he tells me, oh, I got to go buy this. I had a call today with a guy that was like, every year, I just feel like at the end of the year, I'm buying like $300,000 worth of equipment that I don't really need, but I'd much rather have that than give it to the government. And in my head, I'm like, that's such a lazy way to use the code, right? That's basically, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So all I know is, hey, you know what? If you buy something, we get the depreciation, then that's all I know, right? But if I know that, hey, you know what? There's this oil and gas play that gives out a K1 with depreciation, and you have the upside of actually making some money, well, now we're talking a different language, right? We're talking about something that's interesting to you. Because again, you're in Texas, you're a doctor, they're right there, right? You probably know these things, you can touch, feel it probably makes sense. But ultimately, those are the conversations that you should be demanding from these professionals rather than, oh, well, show me how that strategy works.
Right. And that's something that you I think we talked a little bit about it when we talked before offline here, was just that it's not a once a year type of deal. The people who are, in terms of when they're employing or working with tax attorneys and CPAs who are really looking out for all of their best interest in getting through the way they need to be, you're really looking at how you manage all of that tax burden throughout the year, day after day, month after month, throughout your 365-day year, instead of just in that last month, right? And so
absolutely. I mean, I had and this came from actually a law professor of mine, actually my federal tax law professor said to all of us, you have an option. You can either practice tax law or you can malpractice tax law, because all of you are going to have clients and each of them is going to have some money coming into them, right? If you did your job right, and you need to explain to them the tax ramifications, because if you don't, that's malpractice. And so in my head, that clicked for me that every day is tax day. There isn't one day. There's every day. Every day you're touching money. Every day you're spending money. Every day you're making money. Taxes are important. They're the most expensive thing in our lives. And not enough people pay attention to it until this time of year, when you get all bent out of shape. And then you say, next year, I'm going to do something, just like you're going to start that diet, right?
Yes.
It never happens.
My tax day resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Very familiar.
And then you start going on TikTok and everything else, and it's like, I'm going to do the keto diet, or I'm going to take peptides. And then they come into our clinic and they're like, I've been taking this supplement I've been getting offline from this Chinese shop that was recommended by an influencer. And we're like, you wouldn't talk with us about that first? Like,
and this is the crazy part to me, just in terms of media and media literacy out there now. I feel like there are so many really great marketers out there that just know how to message, right? And know, okay, here's what you want to hear. So here's what you want to hear for me to get your money. But the target, really, I almost call them a mark, is unaware that this is happening, right? That they're being basically separated from their money for an idea, not one that might work. It might not be good for them, but that's the goal, right? The goal is just for this person to extract money from them.
right.
Ultimately, I think that's the piece that really people just need to wake up, right? Like if you're on TikTok and you're getting this advice, and by the way, if it starts with, this is something the IRS doesn't want you to know about,
right?
On social media, well, what are you talking about? You think the IRS isn't watching this? Like, what are you doing? What are you talking.
This
So
is
I mean, again, like it's crazy to me because now I get it with AI too, right? Like I get people coming and saying, well, Claude told me this. And I'm like, well, Claude's wrong. I don't know what else to tell you. I can show you the code. But ultimately, I've literally had people walk out of my office because they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I mean, then go with Claude, right? Have fun, go to jail, but I'm not going to be there with you.
You're
Right.
part of the system.
Yeah, I know, right?
Nick, it's wild to hear you describing these things. And if I close my eyes and you take the tax attorney piece out of it, it sounds like medicine, right?
It's all knowledge work now, right? Yeah.
Medical malpractice. Here's what I think we need to do. This is what I saw online. This is what Google told me how to do. You know, we hear that all day long in our office all the time, and from people who are very well meaning, right? They come in with great intentions to try to figure out how can I best thrive with my injury, whatever it may be, knee injury, hip injury, back injury. And so we do spend a lot of time now doing that. But I think that you're right. I think the other thing I think is very interesting is the authenticity, right? Because people are becoming so used to interacting with AI, but to have somebody sit in front of you and talk to you in person and go through things together, I think it may be a little bit becoming a lost art, but I think there's going to be a big shift. There's going to be a big shift away from it because so many people are going to get disenfranchised and disenchanted with this idea that, you know, all the graphics that I see are AI generated. All the people that I'm starting to see are AI generated. All the advice I'm seeing has been run through AI multiple times. And so when you get that level of almost kind of perfection and editing and whatnot, eventually I think people are just going to long to see, you know, the guy with the bald head who's, you know, a little bit overweight and somebody who's got both triceps ruptured.
Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, right? I think that a lot of this is going to get played out. I do think there's a place for it, right? I mean, listen, there are people that I can't help, right? I have folks come to me that this is another hilarious story. I've had people come to me and they say, oh, my taxes, you got to look at my taxes. I look at it and they got like a $24,000 refund. I'm like, well, you mean you didn't pay any tax? You got a refund. And they're like, yeah, but this year it's less. So it's like, I can't help you, right? You don't have a tax problem. So, I mean, I think for those folks that are, just starting to now have to pay taxes, they aren't getting that refund anymore. I think these tools can be helpful, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm too expensive, right? For someone like that. It just doesn't make sense to work with me because the amount of money that I save them they would be paying me more, right? Than the amount off the taxes because they didn't really pay any taxes. So it's also that piece of at some point, the stakes become too high. So, if you're a business owner and you're selling your business for $10 million, are you really just going to rely on AI to give you all that advice? I find that highly unlikely, right? At some point, I think the stakes become so high that you have to go see someone, right? It doesn't feel comfortable as a human to have that much risk on, I don't know if this answer is correct because I'm hoping that the language model knows what they're talking about and has done the right research, right? And by the way, that large language model doesn't have malpractice insurance. There's no throat to choke there, right? So if there's a mistake and something happens, that's on you, right? So ultimately, I think there will be that higher level of service where folks will continue to yearn for that human connection. But I do see that there is a place for AI in those places where it just doesn't make sense to go pay a very expensive professional to help you with a smaller problem.
Right. Yeah, to come in to see me, to hear me tell you, like, let's use some Tylenol and Advil and ice and rest and see how things go is probably may not be worth the copay to come in for those pieces. And I think people are searching that out. And I agree with you. I'm not an anti-AI person. I think that AI is going to have a place. And if you bury your head in the sand and you say, hey, I'm not going to participate. Well, you cannot participate, but you're going to get left behind because ultimately the decision-making capabilities, the ability to generate information is so fast and so high that I think, if you don't learn to use it in a way that you can still have human interactions and still really kind of still will the good of the other person, but using AI in that same sort of field or in that same sort of realm for the good of others, I think there's going to be a big time place for that as we keep going, and as we keep moving. And hopefully what it'll do, if it does what it's supposed to do, it's going to give us more time to do what we want to do. It's going to give us more time to have interpersonal interactions and take away some burdens of things that are not pleasant to do or things that you don't particularly enjoy. And you can delegate that to your AI bot or whatever it is that's going to do it for you. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, for me in my practice, it is very, very good at drafting documents. And you have to give it the right prompts. You have to know what you're doing in order to get a work product that's workable. But honestly, it almost is replacing a paralegal for me, because at least it can get the document started, right? So, here's what I need, draft this up, right? And it looks okay, right? So now I spend maybe 30, 45 minutes editing it, cleaning it up. Now a project that might have taken 2 or 3 days takes 3 or 4 hours, right? It's that kind of value is certainly there. But with great responsibility, with great power comes great responsibility, right? You have to know how to use these tools. You have to understand the logic behind it, and you have to know your own limits. Because at the end of the day, if you give it a prompt and you don't have a complete legal background or a medical background, right, you may be asking it things that you didn't even know are not possible, right? Or it just doesn't make sense how you're asking it.
Sure.
So I think that this is an important discussion.
So I'm going to continue to talk well outside of my realm of expertise or specialty, but are you seeing, so a lot of legal work is done based on an hourly rate, right? Or quarters of an hour or sixth of an hour or whatever it is. But with AI and things moving so quickly, that seems like it would maybe be pushing legal work into more of a pay for service type thing or something. Is that something that you see coming? Because it would be weird if you could read a document in 3 hours versus AI doing it in 15 minutes.
Yeah, listen, this has been a debate in the legal field since probably the late 90s, to be honest, right? Because if we think about this, how things have played out, right? In the 80s, no one looked at the bills, right? Because everyone was making corporate rate, everyone was making tons of money, right? So the lawyers take the sushi lunch, we go out, whatever. Lawyer bill was $100,000, okay, pay it, right? Ultimately, no one was looking at bills. In the 90s, when things got a little rougher, right? People started opening up those bills and saying, whoa, wait a minute, what are we paying for? Were these billables? Like, who is this person that's billing on this file, right? And that's when a sort of a more hybrid flat fee hourly rate started taking hold, right? Sort of that late 90s area. But now we're really moving towards a lot of firms doing litigation, all kinds of litigation on contingency, right? So that we see, even bet the company litigation being done on only success fees. So the lawyer doesn't get paid unless they win, right? There are a lot. I do everything now flat fee, all of my fees. And I refuse to do hourly. And the reason is because early in my career, I did do hourly. And I had a client call me in a panic one day. And it was a mess that they made. And I was like, why didn't you call me earlier? And they said, I didn't want to bill.
Right.
And to me, that's not right, right? That's not the right thing to do. So ultimately, I tell clients, look, think of me like an insurance policy, right? You're going to pay that premium every month, and pray to God you never have to call me. But if you do, you know that I'm already there and it's already taken care of, right? So in that way, I think a flat fee for my profession, it makes a lot of sense in a lot of different ways, because a lot of our work is project-based, right? I have a client come, hey, I'm going to sell my business. Can you help me with this M&A deal, right? Once the deal is done, that's it. So if I can charge a flat fee for that deal, it does a couple of things. First, the client knows that they have me for the whole deal, right? It's not going to be some sort of dispute around the fees, around what's going on. Second, in any transaction, it's super important to know what your costs are going to be. So if I can already tell you exactly what legal costs will be, it helps you. So all of this just makes, I think, the profession better. And I think we are seeing much more of a movement away from these billable hours to more flat fee engagements.
Sure. And that's because you're considered it's concierge tax law that you're practicing, really, essentially, right?
Absolutely. Our services range from everything to helping the high earner W-2 who's maybe at a Meta or a Google, right? They're making millions of dollars a year and they just have no way to really shelter it, all the way up to a fractional family office service where we're working with multiple generations on multiple businesses on basically piecing together how all of these different financial components come together, looking at alternative investments and everything in between. So really, I think of my firm as a 360-degree view on your financial life. There isn't a place where you're going to have a question where I can't get an answer. And that's the number one complaint I get from incoming clients is I just couldn't get an answer. I just couldn't get a straight answer on what to do. My CPA would send me to my attorney. My attorney would send me to my financial advisor. My financial advisor would send me to my insurance agent. I don't get anywhere, right? This is the problem that I'm aiming to solve.
Cool. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
We see that a bit. So concierge medicine is coming out a lot now. It's not as for orthopedists and for procedural specialists, we're not seeing it nearly as much, but certainly for family practice, kind of having that flat fee, having that access to your family practitioner, your primary care doctor, being able to get in when you need to, get those phone calls, not have to pay copays over and over and over again. I think that we're seeing more and more of that trend in medicine as well. And it's, healthcare is one of those things where it's the costs of healthcare keep going up, but it's also you're in a scenario where you also have to look at the incentives, right? What's the incentive? Like if we as healthcare providers, we need to treat patients, which means we need patients in our office, which means, right? And so there to some extent can even be a little bit of a conflict of interest there, because the more if somebody comes back, you've got to trust that your docs are doing what's best for you without just ordering an X-ray, CT scan, MRI, EMG, nerve conduction study. Let's go.
Well, the problem is that unfortunately there are doctors that do that. Right. And there's several up here by me, and they all are in the personal injury workers' comp space. Right. But they do that. Right. They just run up the bill, and they give, I think, the rest of the profession a terrible name. And there are lawyers like that as well.
Yeah. And that is tough. That's tough, because if you can't manage conflict of interest to do the right thing for people, then that's a challenge. Right. And that part is just a big challenge in my mind from a medical standpoint.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's so much mistrust my clinic got delayed, even just today because somebody didn't want to get an x-ray because they're like, I had x-rays 2 years ago and they said they were normal. You're just trying to bill me. And I'm like, number one, a lot can change in x-rays in 2 years. Right. I don't have access to those x-rays from 2 years ago. And in order, they wanted an MRI. I was like, your insurance is going to require you've had plain films. And so we ended up getting the x-rays, but the appointment was delayed. And now I'm running behind, an additional 25 minutes from having this delay. And then, right. It just pushes everything down the line. But the thing is I'm not upset with the patient for questioning it, because I understand why. In today's age, they've had so much exposure and experience with people who have just, ordered unnecessary tests or racked the bill up, that now I get to have to defend that on my end of, yes, but for me to do my job, this is what I need. I'm not sending you for an MRI or anything until I see this to see that it's medically necessary. Right.
Well, the funny part though there is, and this is the quibble I have with the insurance industry, is, for example, my tricep tendons, right? I had to get an x-ray. I knew it was a tendon injury because I couldn't do a push-up with my left arm. So I knew right there, right? Nothing's going to show up on the x-ray. It's not a bone bruise, right? But I didn't complain when they said, let's go do the x-ray, because I said, okay, I know that my insurance will not give me an MRI until I have the x-ray, right? And there are even insurances that are like, we won't do anything until you go for PT first, where it's like, it's a torn ACL. Like, you can do the physical exam. You don't need an MRI to know that the ACL is torn, right? So now I have to send this guy to PT, potentially injuring him further, just so they can get the surgery. It's insane to me the way that the medical profession works. But that's that. I'll get off my soapbox for you.
Oh no, we're on that box too.
We live it, and we say, you need to have your shoulder replaced. When the time comes, people have really bad arthritis. They can't lift their arm above. They're holding their arm like this. They can't move, and we know that they're going to ultimately get their shoulder replaced. But we've got to go through the process of, let's do a steroid injection. We've got to have 6 weeks of PT to show that you didn't make it. But the reality is, if we could trust that the surgeons would make the right decision, right. And would move forward in an ethical way, all of us, which is, that's where the problem lies, is that that you could go ahead and get that person fixed, and it actually would save the insurance company money, because they wouldn't pay for the injection and the PT and the MRI, because we already know you've got arthritis and you need your shoulder replaced. But that is like after years and years and years of those mistakes and of not necessarily manipulating the system, but maybe even milking the system from some physicians, you get into that position. And so
The
definitely
worst part about that, though, is that if you look at the data, the fraud is it's not insignificant, but it's not the majority either. It's quite a small percentage of these cases that spoiled it for the rest, right? And this is my bigger problem, is that it's like you're punishing everyone for 2% or 3% of the cases that are not, maybe, oh, this wasn't medically necessary. Like, what are we doing? Like, we're cutting off our nose to spite our face.
Right.
Throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I mean, we see that. I mean, it is a slow move when it comes to Medicare and the government payers and whatnot. But even 5 or 8 years ago, like we had to have 3 full months of non-operative treatment for people who had bone-on-bone arthritis and couldn't move, right? But until you can get to day number 91 of your treatment plan that's guided by me specifically, not guided by your family practice doctor or a chiropractor or somebody else, it's got to be guided by the orthopedic surgeon, then we can do it, even though we knew on day 1 that this was where we were going to be. And so you end up spinning your wheels. And so that's super frustrating for patients. It's frustrating for the team. It's frustrating for everybody.
Yeah. An interesting one recently was I had someone denied because they've had PT, they've had steroid injections, they've done conservative treatment, but the last documented corticosteroid injection was over a year ago. Why? Because it didn't work, right? It hurt. Yeah. And so they've been managing with Tylenol and and they finally decided they wanted to have their shoulder surgery, and it was denied because the last steroid injection wasn't within the last 12 months.
Yeah.
But then if they get the steroid injection, then they have to wait 3 months to have the surgery. It's just, this is just poor outcomes, right? You think about that person that's bone on bone, can't move, right? So for 90 days, now they're completely sedentary. Do you think the comorbidities are just not going to be there? Like, obviously they're going to be worse off in conditioning. It's silly. It makes me angry.
Yeah. It is a challenge that we battle pretty much every day in clinic. And so, but because even that same person, they'll hear from me that, like, you're the captain of the ship. You get to tell us when it's time for you to have your joint replaced. And then they get their injection, wait a full year. They say, I toughed it all the way out to here. I did just what you said. I'm ready to get it replaced. And then we say, sorry, you got to go do something else. And it's like, oh.
And then the specialist you're doing the peer-to-peer with on the phone and having this conversation, not an orthopedic surgeon.
No, they're a gastro, right? I mean, honestly.
This one was an ear, nose, and throat doctor. So
I mean, they always find the crazy niche. Like, next you're going to be consulting with an oncologist. Watch. It's like, what are we doing?
But another thing we talk about a whole bunch is leadership, and I know that you are an excellent leader, not only within your own community but within your own practice. But one of the questions that I ask everybody is, what do you think separates a good leader from a great leader? What are those characteristics that make great leaders, people that you feel like follow, or people want to follow, basically?
I always come back to servant leadership. What can I do for you? What blockers can I move? I literally just had a call this morning with one of my accountants because I was like, what can I move out of the way for you that's going to help you succeed here? What's blocking you? What can I do? And there was nothing, but it's appreciated, right? Because ultimately, I want to be of service to my people and make their job as easy as possible. So if that means, hey, reach out to that client and calm them down because they've gone off the deep end, or I just need a little bit more time, but this guy is breathing down my neck. All right, let me go handle that for you, right? The more that you can do for people, the more that they will follow you. But ultimately, you have to have that vision too, right? Servant leadership doesn't work if you're not setting the vision, because then you're just running around serving other people. So ultimately, I ask these questions, but if they give me things that I feel actually aren't relevant to their current task, I'll tell them, I think we're a little off course. I think we got your course correct here, because I don't think that's a blocker if you did it this way. And if we're looking at this goal, right? Then they understand, okay, I see. This is the direction we're heading in. So I'm not going to help you go in this other direction, because that's not the direction I want you to go in. But I will help you get things out of the way of the direction that we are heading. But I really come back to this idea of just being a servant to your people and really listening to them and giving them the tools and empowering them to succeed, which also means you've got to have that trust, right? You can't be on top of people saying, hey, did this get done? Did this get done? Where is this, right? That just gets grating and people feel like you don't trust them. So you have to give them enough room to do their work and empower them with the tools to say, I trust you to get the work done.
Yeah, I love that. I love the servant leadership. That's so great because it's true. I mean, it really is true. And some of the greatest companies in the world, I mean, as when they started to put their team first, right? Even the team at the same level as their clients and the team at the same level of, or even ahead of their clients. I think Southwest Airlines famously became number one in terms of revenue generated by actually putting their employees first and saying, we're going to make sure that if we love our employees will love our customers, and then everybody will love us. And that's what they did. And I think for decades they were number one. They may still be number one.
Yeah, and it's so funny that it was started by Herb Kelleher, a hard-charging alcoholic divorce attorney of all people, to talk about love, right? But no, it's also why their stock ticker is LUV, right? They really put that heart-centered approach into everything, and I think that's important.
Where do you see, so there's plenty of pressure obviously in the world of law, and in medicine, but as pressure mounts, as you see people and leaders under high pressure, where do you see them? How do you see folks deal with that well, and then also struggle to deal with it? Because what we find oftentimes in medicine is that as pressure rises, the kind of negative attributes of physicians tend to come out pretty quickly. And so whether you're going to be a tyrant or whether you're going to back down and just sort of avoid conflict, or whether you're going to keep gathering more data or whatever, we see that, but it happens as pressure goes up. And that tends to be a divider in terms of what we see amongst leadership. How do you see that where you are?
Yeah, so this is going to get a little woo-woo, believe it or not. So I don't know. Right now, they're running these Ford ads, right? That Henry Ford once said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Right.
Because it's your mindset, right? And so if you believe that the pressure is too much, then it is. And if you believe that the pressure is causing you to lose your shit, then it is. Absolutely. But if you can change that mindset and say, I see pressure and I just see a problem to solve. So this is an issue. Let me solve it, right? I had a call the other day that was shocking. When I have a whole back office team. They told me something that I knew we fixed for them 3 days earlier. I could have blown up and I could have said, we're doing this work again. I can't believe this, right? But I just said, here it is. I solved this for you. Save this. Make sure we never have this conversation again. We solved the problem. That's, I mean, what's the point? What's the point of exploding? What's the point of having it derail you or what you're trying to do? Ultimately, that doesn't get us anywhere. So really, I think about pressure, problems, stress, all of it as mindset. You can choose to say, you know what, this is just too much. And in the moment, it's hard, right? I'm not saying that I'm not human, right? I'm some sort of mechanical robot that has no emotions and never explodes. But ultimately, I try not to, because I try as hard as I can, and my wife probably will disagree with me, to at least in the moment, remember that, look, my life is not that bad. There are worse problems. There are worse things that I could be doing right now, right? And this pressure is a privilege. I am in this position because I put myself here. And so if I didn't want this pressure, then I never should have walked in this room. Right. I mean, that's the bottom line. And so ultimately it's about that mindset and then that accountability piece of, this is what I wanted. And ultimately I'm here because I want to be here. So if I make it uncomfortable and horrible for everyone else to be here, then maybe I'm the problem and maybe I shouldn't be here.
Right. No doubt. What do you think, Taylar?
Just when he said that, of course, I went to that Taylor Swift song. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
You should sing it.
No, I'm not that. I'm not that Taylor.
You're not going to sing. So, I mean, for us in the OR, it's very similar, right? When the pressure mounts and people start to lose control, it usually happens in the moments when you need your team to come around you and to move in closer because, hey, something is bleeding or something is not in the right place or this patient's life is at risk. And when you lose it, everybody backs away because that's human nature, right? I got to protect myself because this guy's completely lost control.
Right.
And so it's from a strategic standpoint, being that person who loses their cool in the OR, it can be dangerous because everybody, you start to look around and now you're getting more and more angry and everybody's moving further and further away. Like, hold on. And you need them to be right there. Like, I need somebody else to look at this because this is, and give me what you're seeing from the other side of the table so that we can figure out where this blood is coming from or where something is happening. And so, I like the way that you said that, because I think that not only being a servant leader, but also having pressure be a privilege, right? Because that is true. I talk with med students about that. I talk with other doctors about that, right? Like, there was a point in your life where this was what you wanted, right? This is what you prayed for, was that I would be sitting in this spot.
Well, how about how hard you worked?
Right.
How about all the long nights, the missing dinners, missing parties, right? I can't tell you the number of times in law school, because again, graduate school, most of my friends, we got jobs, right? They were down on Wall Street partying. I'm here studying it, at all hours of the night, and they're having fun. I put myself in this position on purpose, and you got to remind yourself of that.
I love it. I love that. And you mentioned kids, right? You've got, how many kids do you have?
I have two. I have a 10-year-old. Well, she'll be 10 on Sunday. So a 10-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy. So one of each.
Happy early birthday. That's awesome. Are you guys doing birthday party or themed party or anything like that?
Well, I got to tell you, I think you have girls too. And I think that I was definitely bamboozled here, because my daughter late last year said, for my birthday, I want to go to Paris. And I openly laughed in her face. And then later that night, I realized, oh, no, my wife wants to go to Paris is what's happening here.
Nice.
So we are taking her to Paris for spring break at the end of April. And that is her gift, even though she's getting some smaller ones. But for all intents and purposes, a trip to Paris is what she wanted. So apparently that's what she's getting. So I was very much outvoted.
That is going to be, the next 8 years are going to be tough for you. If
8 at this rate, are you seeing the economy? It's like 30 years, the next 30.
Yeah. Taylor has 2 girls and a boy. I've got 2 boys and a girl. My daughter's 13. So she just a little bit ahead of you. And then my older 2 are 15 and 17. So we were driving back from Colorado and my 15-year-old was driving us. That made it a little bit more tense for sure.
We broke to the kids that we finally told them we're going to Disney World this summer, right? 2 of the kids were super excited, and one of my girls was, of course, like, well, I'd like to go on a Disney cruise though too. And I was like, that sounds great. What? How are you going to pay for that, you little freeloader?
We actually recently got hoodwinked by youth sports. So my daughter is a gymnast, and at the end of last season at the party or whatever, the coach stands up without talking to any of the parents and said, hey, next year over President's Day weekend, we're going to go compete at Disney World. So basically I was just forced to spend $10,000 on a gymnastics turn. It's just, the place is the happiest place on earth, though, right? Happy.
Allegedly. I'll find out.
Taylor, a former gymnast as well. So,
and both of my daughters are in gymnastics, so I feel you. One of them is on the competitive team. One of them, who is also his goddaughter, she's not quite as driven. She's just showing up right now. She shows up and she puts in the bare minimum effort. She's not quite team material yet.
Yeah, mine is like a little mini Island Iverson. One time we got a report from the coach that was Fiona isn't trying that hard at practice. So I asked her, I was like, what's going on? She goes, they don't give out medals at practice.
Right. We're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice, not a game.
My one that's kind of like that too is also a Fee. She's Felicity. But yeah, they're like, Fifi's really, she doesn't really seem engaged or whatever. And she was just like, it's just not hard enough. And I'm like, you're not doing even what they ask you to do though. Forward roll. And you're just going doing ninja stuff. You can at least master what they're telling you before you tell me it's not hard enough. You're not challenged.
I feel like that's a Jack Black skit, right? It's not hard, but he does it wrong every time.
That's basically Felicity. Yeah. Accurate.
Well, very cool. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. We remember what your favorite kind of pie is, though.
It's boysenberry. So my wife is from Oregon, and the first time I tried boysenberry pie a la mode, I was hooked.
Nice. I've got to find it and I've got to get it to you. So make sure you send me your address. We're not going to put your address on here, but make sure you send me your address, and I will find boysenberry pie. If I have to, I'll make it, but I don't know how I'm going to find it.
I think they only grow in Oregon, so you may have to take a trip.
Go to Oregon. Easy peasy.
Squeezy.
That's good. Fly them across the country. It's all good. Well, it has been a pleasure. I enjoyed getting to meet with you also when we were meeting with David, but even better today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. You can't hear it, but we're going to play some applause for you because I have these special.
He hit the right button.
And I hit the right button. It didn't go like wah, wah, wah.
He does.
Sometimes I do. But it's awesome. I'm looking forward to working together with you in the future as well. I think this is great. I know that as soon as my wife hears this, she's going to be like, why haven't you been talking to Nick about our taxes? So just be ready for that phone call.
Absolutely.
My wife is amazing. She's great. She's an anesthesiologist as well. So, but she always is asking me about when tax season comes, like what's going on. And now I can say every day is tax season. So
every day is tax.
Every day is tax day. We got to watch it. So yeah, happy to help.
I love it. I love it, man. Well, thanks again. I look forward to working with you in the future. Have an amazing day. Thank you for bearing with me with the late texts and everything being on call today, but I really appreciate it. You rock, man. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Absolutely.